Hello, in this video I need to go over one of the most important things you must understand about driving anxiety. And this is something I've mentioned many times before, but people have real trouble understanding this. So the point of this video is that many people ask me, can you make a video about the fear of bridges, about the fear of getting lost, about the fear of driving at night, about the fear of hitting the curb when I pull up. There's all these sorts of things people ask me to make videos on, and people leave comments saying, can you just tell me how to fix this and this and this? It doesn't matter what your problem is, because it isn't. The way that your problem presents is merely the way it shows itself. So it doesn't matter if it's a fear of bridges, speed, nighttime, driving more than a few miles from home. That's very common. It doesn't matter what your problem is. It isn't. That isn't the problem. So there isn't a way of fixing driving at night. There isn't a way of fixing driving at speed. And yes, you can fix them. I'm not saying you can't fix them. But there isn't this specific thing. People seem to think, oh, I've got a problem with this, so therefore, what do I need to do to fix that? The way you fix a problem is you have to trace what it really is. So, for example, let's say, I'm going to make this up, but I don't want to go and reveal details of people I've worked with, but this is just how it goes in a real session. Let's just say that someone has a thing where when they drive over 50 miles an hour, their hands start sweating and shaking and they're gripping the wheel really tightly. Doesn't matter, that could be any problem. It could be fear of driving, fear of bridges, fear of tunnels. Doesn't have to be driving, could be a fear of heights, it could be public speaking, it could be anything. It doesn't matter what the symptoms are. They're just symptoms. And if you're one of the people who say, oh no, that's wrong because it has to be to do with driving, well, I can't help you, because you'll never fix it until you accept the problem is not the problem. So let's say that someone comes to me with a fear of driving over 50 miles an hour. I cannot tell you how to fix that, because people say, oh, can you just tell me in a comment, how do I fix it? No, because it doesn't work like that. People have this misconception that when I work with people, I do the same thing with everyone, and I just wave my arms, click my fingers, say a magic spell, and it fixes people. No, that's not how it works. The way you fix the fear of heights, driving, flying, scuba diving, whatever, doesn't matter what it is. You talk about the problem and I will be able to tell what it is, because with the training I've had, I can tell from the way people speak, the way they look. It's about body language, what you call micro movements. It's about the tone of the voice. It's about when people say things in a certain way, they might be staring off into the distance. You might see there is what we call an unconscious cue in their face or their arm. Sometimes watch my arm here. People might be talking and their arm twitches, and you can tell from that, not if it's a one-off, but if it keeps doing it, that there is something about what they just said. You cannot fix this stuff through comments. I can't type how to fix your problem. If you've worked with me, I'll give you an overview, but you can't just fix it by doing something in the YouTube video. The way you fix it is you talk to me, we will trace when it began. So okay, in this example, you've got a problem of driving at speed. When did it begin? Oh, well, it began at this time in my life. Let's say they were 32 years old. Okay, so what was going on in your life at 32? And people always say, oh no, I could drive then. No. It's nothing to do with driving. You just cannot get people away from this thing about driving. It's about driving. It's not. what was going on in your life when it began? Well, nothing, right? And eventually you learn, this is why I can't just do it through a video. People might say things like, oh, not much, I just moved house. Oh, you just moved house. So why did you move house? Oh, well, yeah, I split up with someone. Oh, so you'd split up with someone. I thought you said nothing had happened. Oh, yeah, but that's nothing to do with the driving. Nothing to do with the driving. You just can't get it through to people. Right, so you split up with someone, yeah? So what happened then? You moved house. You split up with them. Why did you split up with them? Because they were having an affair. How did you feel about that? The person I'm talking to gets a bit emotional. They start crying. Turns out that had an affair. Now, I'm making all this up, but this is exactly what happens. I'm just faking it so I don't give away anyone's private details. At the time their partner had an affair, or they had an affair, I can't remember which one I said now. At that time, the client's brother was ill. And the brother being ill was part of it. And you trace it back and back and back and back and back. It might be that a memory comes up of when the brother was ill, or when the brother was younger with them, they did something which resulted in them feeling guilty. And then they start crying, and the feeling of that guilt and shame comes out. And one thing that people very often say to me, and a great way of telling the therapy has been successful, is at the end they say, you know what, I feel like a massive weight has lifted, my head feels lighter, and my shoulders were tense, but they feel lighter. That was the pressure that was coming out when they drove, whatever you call it. Why? Who cares? Why did it happen? Who cares? It doesn't matter. That's what it was. And they go out driving and it's fixed. It was never anything to do with the driving, the heights, the whatever. That's just when it comes out. Why? Who knows? Who cares? You don't have to know why it began. If you ever find why, if you're looking for why, you'll fail. That's for other videos, but you don't care about the why. It's one of the first things I learned when I trained to become a therapist. It's one of the most important things I ever learned. At the time, I remember asking the teacher, why? And he laughed. He said, everyone says that. When you tell people don't worry about the why, everyone asks why. And when you know the secrets of this stuff, you think, wow, that makes sense. I understand now why you don't say why. Have you ever noticed in my videos, I never really say why, apart from now. So the point is, your problem isn't the problem. It doesn't matter how it presents, how it shows, driving or not. You trace it to what it once was, because it isn't now what it was then. That's why you've only just had this fear of driving begin, because it was something else before that, and 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 something else before that. How you find those things and how you know what the relevant things are, well, that's what I've spent years training to do. So that's what you do. You do not fix a problem of driving by driving, because it's nothing to do with the driving. You don't expose yourself to driving. All you're going to do is make it worse, because you're exposing yourself to the trigger that sets off the real problem. And your problem will remain until you find what the true cause of it once was. And you don't even need to know what it was, because it's subconscious. I've had people who have started crying and they've got no idea why, and it's fixed. It's not about conscious, logical thinking. It's about subconscious release of a repressed emotion. Some of the time, because that's only one way it can work. So I hope you see now, when people say to me, how do I fix driving anxiety? And they expect me to say all I've just said in one sentence and tell them how to do it without any training. How can you possibly do that? yes, people do fix it themselves, because sometimes you find the cause by accident. Right? I've had it happen. People have watched my videos and said, wow, I was watching your video and now I understand it was about a trapped feeling. I knew what it was, because sometimes you'll know what it is. You think, oh, it's that. When I was 8 years old, that happened, and I bet that's got something to do with it. And you can fix it on your own without a therapist, but it's much, much harder, because even if I do it on myself, you can't look at yourself the same way that people do. You just can't. Check out these videos of mine on screen now for more help, and if you want to work with me one-to-one online from anywhere in the world, contact me through my website firstdrive.com. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you again soon for more videos.